welcome to Westcroft Koi. This video is just going to be a bit of a short video, to be fair. For the simple reason is I've had a couple of people that have reached out, sent messages, asking questions, mainly about the food that I feed here at Westcroft Koi. Now we have two different types of food that we do here. One is the Mad Dog Mix, which is a mixture of every single food that we sell within the shop. So there's sake in there, there's aqua sauce in there, takazumi, JPD, FD foods, there's also cuppings and numerous other bits and pieces. And what we do is we mix it up into a 167 litre tub that you get from places like Wix's. Just mix it all up, get it a good mixture in there. Put some wheat germ in as well, but I forgot to mention that. So mix that up and then we'll separate it. We'll put it into 1.5 litre, 1.5 kilo tubs. And the reason why we do that is we don't know what food you're feeding fish. That's excuse the noise, it's dustbin day today. And they're doing the road outside as well, which makes a nice change. But yeah, so like I said, we do a mix here for the simple reason is we don't know what you, the customer, are feeding your fish. You could be feeding croppings, you could be feeding Ali Aqua, you could be feeding aqua sauce, you could be feeding shogun, shori, or numerous other foods that are out there, sake kara, you know, the list goes on. The list goes on. What you'll find, or part of the experience that I've gained over the last couple of years of running the shop, and we're coming up to 2 years now. In fact, I think our pet shop licence is due end of August. So yeah, so 2 years. No, 2 years in August. Digressing again, do apologise. So yeah, so what we do is we do a Mad Dog Mix, which is all this food. And the reason why we do that is because we don't know what food you're feeding your fish. Oh, I know I've repeated myself. What we found is that we'll have customers contacting us and saying fish ain't been eating for the last week. Can you give me an indication more? And 9 times out of 10, if you fed your fish, I don't know, for argument's sake, say you fed caviar, for argument's sake, or prawns or stuff like that, and then all of a sudden you've decided you're going to you're just going to put normal food in there, they'll turn their nose up at it, basically for a week until they're hungry, they've got no choice, and then they'll start eating it. Layman's term. Or if you're feeding them the equivalent to a Ferrari, and then all of a sudden, or if we've been feeding them the equivalent to a Ferrari, and then all of a sudden you're feeding them the equivalent to a Skoda, fish will moan, fish will turn their nose up at it. Because our fish are quite posh if you think about it. You think about what we do with them, and we look after them, and we tender them, and we nurture them. To an extent, we actually do sometimes more looking after our pets than we do looking after. Well, I'll be careful what I'm saying there because I don't want to get into any contentious arguments with anybody and stuff like that happening. So yeah, so that's why we do a Mad Dog Mix. But we also sell a budget food that we are starting to see really good results on. So I've been testing it for about 4 months now, and obviously I've given I've given a few YouTubers. When I say given them, obviously I've given them the cost, so they can go out and test it. And we're getting some good results from that as well, and that's from a company called Ali Aqua. It started from I think it was a gentleman called Tom in France that was feeding Chagoy. And that's basically where this originally come from. Now, you know, the ingredients on it are crude protein, and then obviously you've got your crude fats and you've got your other bits and pieces. But for, I think, 6 ml pellets, 6 ml pellets, I think is around £60 more. And you can get them in 6 ml pellets of 15 kilos, 4.5 ml pellets and 3 ml pellets. I think they're 20 kilos, and again I think it's around £60 more. So even though we talk about feeding Ferraris and feeding Skodas, in my honest opinion, I am seeing good results. Very, very good results. Not perfect results, but I'm seeing good results. Now, bearing in mind that I'm feeding this to the fish that are in quarantine. The main reason why I'm doing that is I'm trying to get as much bulk onto them as I can, because obviously when they're coming from Japan and transportation, they're quite thin. They actually look like snakes, for want of a better word. And obviously taking them through quite intensive quarantine and thin fish, it's like us. You know, if we're malnutritioned in some shape or form, we have a tendency for catching I've lost my words now. Infections or prone to colds and stuff like that. So we become more susceptible. So the more food you can get into a fish, or for me, the more food that I can get into a fish in the first 3 weeks of it being in quarantine in a confined space, the better for me. Because then I can start getting the treatments here, the fish will be more responsive, the fish will be more proactive, if you like. I'll give you an example. So I had 3 fish that came in a batch that were, you know, they had transport damage. Again, I apologise. They had transport damage, quite bad transport damage to be fair. Marks on the side and lesions and stuff like that. So obviously we treated for the lesions. And obviously what I'm finding is with good food or food that's getting in their stomachs and they're eating it, I'm seeing results, and I'm seeing those lesions are getting better, for want of a better word. But obviously on top of that there's salt in there and Alprex in there as well. Like I said, as you all know, I use Alprex as one of my go-tos anyway. But the main part of that in there for me is obviously the acroflavine part of it, because obviously that will help with lesions and stuff like that, bacteria, if there's any present. Now obviously I have, you know, all through the winter I used Sakikara that was in the garage. Sakikara is good, I'm not going to dispute that. Very expensive, very, very expensive. I did find that their waste was very powdery, and as a result of that, stuff like Helix 13 and K1, the big stuff with the holes in, not the big stuff, but you know the stuff I want about, I was finding that was clumping up after a couple of days, and that was in an extra 320 plus. And I was finding myself having to clean it more and clean it more and clean it more, because it was obviously clumping up, and as soon as it was clumping up, it was compacted together within 2 days. But bearing in mind, we're talking a 500-gallon tank on a 320 plus Nexus, 25 fish in there. So you can understand that me feeding them 8-9 times a day. So you can understand, you know, after 2 days you would expect it to be bad. Now with me using like the Mad Dog mix, or me using the, well, more importantly, especially in the garage, the early aqua, I'm finding, yes, there is waste, but it's more like tubular waste. So, and because it's tubular waste, I'm finding that waste is getting in the settlement chamber quicker, or it's getting in the centre chamber, so it's dropping down the bottom. So I'm finding higher quantities of that but still having the media still moving, doing what it needs to do. So I'm finding it from that point of view. Bearing in mind we've got 12 tanks here, so it's 12 lots of cleaning. So normally we do water tests on a Monday for argument's sake. We'll do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be filter cleans and water changes. And then obviously Friday will be any customer related issues. Saturday obviously will be shop related, Sunday will be shop related, and it goes round and round and round. So we will do a multiple amount of things, but I'm finding this Ali Aqua, especially the Primo Plus, I'm starting to find that really effective. Now I know there's a lot of new foods that are coming out on the market now. I think Nutrimare 360 is another one that's coming out, all that's out now. And hopefully, people will start. I'm not an influencer in any shape or form. There are loads and loads of YouTube influencers out there which will encourage you, buy this because this is the best. I've seen massive results on this, I've got this, I've got that, look, add this and have that. I forget it for free anyway. Sometimes, so for me, from I'm a nightmare because I keep forgetting what I'm saying, but I do apologise. But from an Ali Aqua point of view, I'm finding it that it's quite cheap. The point I'm trying to make is that more people start buying the Nutrimare, more people start buying the Ali Aqua. You might find that the price will come back down of things like Sakikara that it was before the influencers was pushing it and then sending the price up through the ceiling. Because I remember way back, 15 kilo bag of Sakikara was about 70 quid. And then the influencers started coming in and saying this is the best of the best of the best. It was 90, 100, 150, 200, it was 240 quid at some stage. And now it is very, very expensive. It's more than, in some cases, a weekly shop. Now, obviously, I know that these are our water children, for want of a better word, and we nurture them and we look after them and we give them the best that we can possibly give them. I don't dispute that, but the point is the best that we can possibly give them. There are lots of people out there, and what I'm going to say now, please don't take offence by what I'm going to say, but there are people out there that can afford to have sterile environments for their fish. They can afford to have the best of the best of the best filtration. They can have the best of the best pumps, and they can have the absolute glass clear water. They're always chasing the zeros, the zero on the ammonia, the zero on the nitro. Anybody turns around and says to you, zero is the ultimate, zero is your death pot, because you need the nitrogen cycle, so you need to have ammonia and nitrous in your pond, so you know that the nitrogen cycle's working. Yes, in small, increments, in small, 0.2, something like that, 0.25, 0.2, maybe 5 on the nitrate. So sorry, I'll rephrase that. 0.25-ish on your ammonia, 0.2 maybe on your nitrite, which obviously transfers to 0.5 of your nitrate. If we're chasing zeros, we're going to kill our fish. It's as simple as that. So, because we need the nitrogen cycle in there to be able to give a good environment for the fish. Having a sterile environment where everything's perfectly zero, it's one of them. I think the main thing I'm trying to say on this video, and from a daily point of view, it's probably going to be a bit strange from the way that I'm saying this. But don't forget, I'm a dealer, but at the end of the day, I'm still just a retired person with a hobby. I just happen to have a few more tanks, and I just have a few more fish, and I just happen to sell them. At the end of the day, we've still got empty pockets. I get my wallet out now, and it's empty. quite plain and simple. So obviously I try to work on a budget as well, and yes, I'll feed coppins, and I'll feed Aliaqua, and I'll feed Mad Dog Mix. I'll just get one off the shelf. I'll demonstrate to the customers how I think, you know, that this food is what it is. I do like using the Mad Dog Mix, and obviously on my sales bats, that's what I'll do. Quarantine, I'm using the Aliaqua, and then what I'll do then is over the 2 weeks of conditioning through my quarantine, I'll then introduce the Mad Dog Mix in there. And again, the reason why the Mad Dog Mix is so the fish can get a taste of all of the foods that are available. So if you throw in whatever, then they'll have already got a taste to it, and they'll have already got used to it, and that's the key thing for me. And that's why I do that. I was also asked what my quarantine process is. And it's a good question, but it's my quarantine and it's the way that I do it. Some people agree and some people won't. So my quarantine is quite OTT, for want of a better word. It's between 6 and 8 weeks, depending on where the fish have come from and what I've got to do with them. If I'm getting fish in from, for argument's sake, the wholesalers in the UK, then obviously my quarantine will be 4 weeks. The fish are coming in from Japan, they're between 6 and 8 weeks. Normally what I will do, and again this is what I do, it's not what I recommend, it's what I do. But I'll salt the pond. I'll normally take it up to about 0.6, and that's done properly through calculation. So calculation check before, calculation check after. I will salt 0.6. I will bring the fish in. I will leave them for 3 days just to chill out, just get them nice and chilled. And then what I'll do then is I'll start heat ramping. Then my heat ramping process is around 24 degrees, and then it's up for 2 weeks, and it's a scrape on the top, both ends. After the 2 weeks, and bearing in mind they're still being fed heavily, after 2 weeks then chilling process starts, and then I'll bring them down to, when I say chilling, bringing them down from 24 degrees down to ambient temperature as quickly as possible. I want to bring out as much stress in them as possible, because that'll bring out anything, that'll start bringing out the nasties, for want of a better word. So that'll be my first process, and then once I've come down to the bottom to my ambient, I'll then leave them for a week again at ambient temperature. And again, at the end of the ambient temperature, or the end of the 7 days, I'll do another scrape. That'll be like, if you like, the first stage, so the first 3 weeks, if you like. So what I will do then is I will introduce normally about 20%, so normally about 10 fish. No, that's not 20%, is it? So I'll normally introduce, every single tank I'll take 2 fish out, and then what I'll do is I'll introduce them into the quarantine tank, so I'll put in naive fish in there, if you like. Further down the line, so what I'm going to start doing as well is fish that I know that have absolutely gone through sleeping sickness and stuff like that, I'll leave them in the quarantine tanks, and those will be my filter fish. But that'll be, I'm already doing the sleeping sickness process anyway, but what I want to do is for next year, I want to be prepped up and ready to go, because again this year, which is year 2, is still about a learning process, because you're always learning, every day's a learning day, and it's simple as that. So after the 3 weeks of that initial quarantine, and on the 7th day of the ambient temperature, I'll do the scrape. I'll introduce the fish, and then what I'll do then, from there, I will take it back up to 24 degrees and I'll hold it for a further 7 days. Past experience, I brought out Costi and Chiltonella straight away. So obviously then it's an Alprex treatment that goes in, and then that's treated. Normally that happens day 2 of the 24 degrees. So day 2 I'll start bringing that out. What I'll do then is I'll have my 7 day cycle at 24 degrees. I'll scrape again at the end of that 7 days. And obviously there's a treatment that's gone in between, so in theory there should be little or nothing in there at all. Then what I'll do is I'll bring it back down to ambient temperature, obviously through chilling. So the way chilling can either be done through the heaters, or if you haven't got that facility, open all the doors and windows, leave them open for as long as you possibly can. That'll bring the temperature down as well, so that's another way we do it. Then we'll bring them down and we'll hold them for another week. So that'll be like your week 5 if you like. Now, what I'll do then is, I will then recondition those fish. So normally that's between a week and 2 weeks, depending on the way that I do it. And depending on the size of the fish as well. So I want to get as much body in as I can to it. So when the customer's got them, they've got a fat fish. The reason why I give them a fat fish is because then they'll go into a new pond, into a new environment, into a bigger environment. And we see big sizes appearing as a result of that. And a perfect example would be Brendan up at Bradford, because he was having, I think he was having 22, 23 CM fish. You want to see the size of the fish that's in his pond now. In fact, what I'll do is I'll clear it with Brendan, and then what I'll do is I'll put a video of the fish that he sent me, and I was gutted. The simple reason is he's done so much product on these fish, and they've started like this, now they're like this. You'll see the video, so I'll put the video up at the end of this. Bit of a waffle, to be fair. But like I said, customers have asked the question. They've asked me what I do and how I do it. And they've asked me why it's so long. Very, very simple. I want you, as a customer, to have the best that I can possibly give you. Now, obviously, here at Westcroft Koi we do have a return policy, if you like. So what we do is we'll do if you're new to us, we'll ask you to bring us a water sample so we can test your water, make sure your water's all full. And if you have any fish offals, put a guarantee on for the first, I think it's 7 days. And obviously if you have any problems with fish, give us a video. Give us a water test. We'll blast the fish. Simple as that, really. I think we've had, I think we've sold this year, I think we had about 600 fish around us. And it's 4th of June now. There's still quite a big part of the season left. I think we've probably got something like 200 fish maybe. Obviously not including the sack-eyes that are in pond one. About 200. There's a sack-eyes we're going to be taking to the Birmingham show. So we're going to get some body on them and get some size on them. They'll go to the Birmingham show that's going to take place first week in October, I think that is. So that's what we're doing there. So do you know what? I've waffled and and I apologise. So we'll leave the video with this. I hope that's answered a few questions. If there's anybody else that wants to ask me a question, you're more than apologies. Right in the middle of that, I had a video conference call with a customer. So yeah, so I have waffled on long enough, so I do apologise. So all I'm going to say now is, be good, be nice to your family. I'll see you soon.
Hey Dave, Glenn. I don't think it gets much better than this. Just look at these. Absolutely stunning. I just thought I'd take this video, just get a bit closer. These have turned out absolutely brilliant. Thanks a lot, lads. Just quick look at this lot over here. Can't see them. Well, one or two. Yep. If I go near the window, they'll be up, looking for food as usual. some nice ones there. Really happy. But what I have done